Hello YouTube and Patreon, this is Nathan P. Butler, and this is our monthly project update for the end of February 2019. And yes, no doubt about it from the lighting, I am recording, as is often the case, in the middle of the night, or should I say super early in the morning, here on, what is this, February 27th now. Yes, it's changed from the 26th to the 27th as I'm recording this. I mention that because we may see some releases in the very near future that are coming after this is recorded, but perhaps before this one is edited and released, though I really only have a couple days to do that now, don't I? So, first off, as always, I want to thank all of you who are backers of my Patreon. That very much helps behind the scenes here as far as making sure that the items that I'm trying to grab for the reviews and the YouTube channel and everything are things that I'm able to acquire without blowing the budget each month. Every little bit does help. Breaking this down here, who all are these supporters on Patreon? As of right now, we of course have the Travelers Through the Butler Universe. That's that $1 tier where basically you can get in and you can get yourself a thanks in these videos verbally right now, but the guarantee is to have it in the credits at the end of the episode, but we certainly have plenty of time to deal with it verbally at this point in the game. And then of course, those folks will also get a thanks in the special Patreon thanks page in the next edition of A Saga on Home Video when it comes out in, a couple of years, give or take. So first, let me thank those Travelers Through the Butler Universe. Those include Austin Pierce, Ben Stein, that is Ben P. Stein, Jeremiah Mustard, Martin Dahl, and S.W. Chris, along with new Patreon supporter who actually jumped in right after I recorded the last of these, so she didn't wind up getting a mention in that episode, but is making her debut here, Candy Cabanas. So thank you very much for jumping in as Travelers Through the Butler Universe. We also want to take a moment to thank those denizens of the Butler Universe. Those are the folks at that $5 tier who get the stuff beneath it, of course, but also access to those audio commentaries. I release audio commentaries for things like the Clone Wars at least twice a month, typically on the 1st and the 15th. So, the denizens of the Butler Universe, as we call them, include Bobby Craig, Jason Hunt, Jeff Ellis, Joey Zitzman, Robert Medina, Sam Howard, and Stephen M. Someday, Stephen, are you ever going to tell me what your last name is so that I can refer to you as something other than Stephen M.? Then again, we also do have an S.W. Chris. Mysterious. And then, of course, we have our Nobility of the Butler Universe. Those are the folks doing that $10 and up tier. These are the folks who get access to all that stuff already mentioned, but also those exclusive monthly Q&A videos where I'm guaranteed to answer those questions, as long as they're not putting my, my marriage or my job in jeopardy, I think is the way I defined it originally. Those include Jonathan Pickens, Jonathan Confer, Gary Sherwood, Big Mac Davis, one of our newer Patreon supporters, Benjamin Handelman, the original Patreon supporter, Andrew Bettis, Aaron Melzak, and Brian Snook. So thank you all for backing the Patreon. I really do appreciate it. And let's get into what is new, starting with Patreon. So, as always, we have our monthly Q&A episodes. So we had our monthly Q&A released for the month of February. That included questions from the two Jonathans, Pickens and Confer, both. And then, of course, we also had our last of our project updates like this one back on January 29th. Everything I'm talking about in this episode is from then onward. And, of course, we had our different commentaries released for the month for the Clone Wars. We had the commentary for Weapons Factory and the commentary for Legacy of Terror. So, obviously, what that means for fans of the Clone Wars is that the next one you're going to see here on March 1st is going to be Brain Invaders. At which point, before the Ides of March, before March 15th, I'll be sitting down to record some more to get ready for the next batch, starting with Grievous Intrigue, as we're heading into, again, the Ides of March, and then on into April Fool's Day, and then Tax Day. Wow, it's not really until May 1st. Well, no, May Day. Was it May 15th is the first of them? Doesn't have some kind of friggin' name starting with March 15th? What's going on? But anyway, yeah, that was a new Patreon content. Somehow got lost in the weeds of dates and names there. On the podcast front, we have two podcasts that I'm involved with, still on a regular basis. That is Star Wars Beyond the Films, which I host with Mark Hurlman, and Cloud City Casino, which I host with Michael Morris, both of which are found at StarWarsReport.com. Both of them have actually gotten rolling again. So for Star Wars Beyond the Films, on February 3rd, we had the release of our first of the belated 2018 Year in Review episodes, this one focusing on the books, that is all the books, the adult books, the young adult books, and many of the younger reader books along the way. That was episode number 239 of Star Wars Beyond the Films. Now, we've recorded actually two more already. That's why I mentioned the date earlier, because depending on time of day, this episode, this update, may be racing the release of the next one. Episode 240, which is already recorded, it's edited. Mark has it to add music and whatnot and release it, get the blog post ready and everything like that. That is our comics year in review for 2018. And then we also recorded our, let's call it, so the movies, TV, and other stuff episode, which is 241, as a retrospective on 2018. And that one is huge. It's like 2.5 hours long. But it hits movies, it hits TV, and it hits a ton of games, including trying to give those who are not familiar with the Star Wars gaming landscape right now a sense of what all, for instance, Fantasy Flight Games is doing. So keep an eye out for those. Those will be out sometime in the near future. Both are kind of in the same state, waiting for the music, the mock-up, and the release. But those are in Mark's hands now, finally. I was able to get them edited fairly quickly this time. So, yeah, they're on the way, but the books one is up now. We've actually had 2 episodes of Cloud City Casino released, but I wonder if folks have seen the second one, because I think that when it was released, they tagged it incorrectly on Star Wars Report's website. I'm going to have to reach out to Michael and check in on this. But we had episode 86 and episode 87, okay? Episode 86 was basically me coming back after not being in the previous episode, and we take some time after not having an episode in a while to sit down and catch up on Star Wars video game news. That was released on February 1st. Then on February 19th, we had episode number 87, which he refers to as Baby Sounds, Depressing Tabletop Talk, and Some Emails, which is pretty accurate. We took the time to talk about the current landscape in tabletop gaming in a little more detail than we typically would on, say, Star Wars Beyond the Films, because it's a show specific to that genre of Star Wars collecting and playing. But what's weird about it is that that was an episode where we sort of tested the idea of, you know what? It's a conversational show anyway. Things happen. It's not as tightly edited, say, as Beyond the Films, and even that doesn't take out my ums and such. So, you know what? We're going to try to record during the day while we actually have the opportunity. Oh, the wife's at work, and the baby's here. You know what? He can just chill in his little baby chair nearby, and we'll record, and if he makes sounds, we'll just kind of work it into the show. So in essence, he sort of became a co-host of that episode. And had a great moment. I want to say it was about 25 minutes into it where, well, you'll see how he reacts to one of the ideas that Michael throws out. It's not a good reaction. And he seemed to really dislike the fact that Armada seemed to be dying. So, you know, take a baby's opinion for what it's worth. That, of course, brings us to the big stuff, which is the YouTube channel, where you will find most of my most recent stuff. We started out with a couple of videos for Star Wars Legion at the beginning of the month. And that was an unusual one because we're looking at the Barricades pack, which just friggin' barricades, not a big deal. But also took a look at priority supplies. Why did it take us so long to look at priority supplies? Because, as far as I knew, it had never gotten released. Oh no, it got released. It was in a small print run, so even though I had pre-ordered it way in advance, I didn't get it on the original release. And Barricades was with it on a pre-order, so I didn't actually get either of them until both were available when there was a second production run of priority supplies. But we finally got a chance to look at both of those. Then we turned our attention to a couple of actual new Legion products. We took a look at the Imperial Specialist and Rebel Specialist that were released side by side. Then, in what was a short and relatively light month, we had 3 episodes of From the Star Wars Home Video Library. We took a look at, well, an item that I had gotten wrong the first time. I had actually put up briefly an episode on what I thought was a Chinese VHS release of The Phantom Menace. Turns out it was Taiwanese, and George Uy, who was a viewer of the channel, left a comment to sort of explain how that works, how the translation works, and how you can tell the difference of just a small piece of one symbol, one letter within the name. And I was able to say, okay, well, wow, I'm a dumbass. Pulled that one down, went ahead with more episodes, and then finally at this point came back in February and did an episode on that, which actually knew what the heck it was talking about with a little bit more research. It was the Taiwanese Phantom Menace full-screen VHS release. Then we took a look at the story of Star Wars. We'd looked at it before, in fact even broke out little Video Now player and the little PVDs to look at the original version and that sort of thing. But in the process of doing that, I hadn't had a chance to show you what it would have looked like on store shelves back at Walmart whenever the DVD was released packed in with Revenge of the Sith. And thanks to another member of the Star Wars Home Video group, I was able to show you both the full screen and widescreen versions of the Walmart and the Sam's Club variants of that in an episode. And then finally we wrapped up the month's YouTube content, besides from this, of course, with sitting down and taking a look at the Star Wars Trivial Pursuit DVD releases from the UK. We looked at the ones from the US, we hadn't looked at the ones from the UK before, and there were substantial differences. And by the way, since I don't know where or when I will ever show this outside of the book, because I've already kind of looked at it, I don't know where it would sort of fit in a little side episode. Let me say, I also finally acquired a sealed copy of the Collector's Tin version of the US release that was exclusive to Toys R Us. One that's been looked at on from the Star Wars Home Video Library before, just not with the packaging still intact, so it was just the Vader face with the flames and the dark background. It didn't have any of the text and such on it, which basically just mirrors the text that you see on the regular release. But finally got a copy of this that's sealed. I just got it after I'd already produced that episode, so there wasn't a chance to slip it in there as a little side topic within it. I don't know. I've done new episodes for less before, so maybe a quick blast episode just to show it and be done at some point in the future. But I don't know. Haven't decided yet. In any event, like I said, it's been sort of a slow month as far as that stuff goes. I've been working quite a bit on some written works. So I've just gotten the finished, updated text of my novella Echoes from 2006 that was self-published. I've just gotten that sent off to Jim Wilder of Arcbeetle Press. It's going to be a bonus in the next professional printing of my book Greater Good through Arcbeetle Press this time around. And I'm slowly working my way back through Greater Good. One of the things that the previous publisher wanted to do was cut back on some of the profanity in the original self-published version for 2009 when republished, and I think it was 2012. And they wanted to get rid of real-world names and stuff like that. So Hartsfield-Jackson International Airport, one of the settings, became King International Airport and stuff like that. The Ford Mustang, driven by one of the characters, became a Wraith Stallion, sort of thing. So many of those are being changed back at this point, but there's some formatting issues with the newest version that I have, so as I'm working through it, I'm having to fix the formatting issues at the same time before I send that off to the publisher. So I'm about maybe a third of the way through. So a lot of my time, when I do get a chance to kind of sit down, is that sort of thing. I've also got some things recorded that haven't been released yet. I did a new mini Q&A episode that was recorded that took care of all the questions asked in episodes 7 through 10's comments, so that'll be up soon. I also have finally captured quite a bit of new footage from Jedi Challenges, from the Dark Side expansion and the new stuff from Last Jedi, and some video of the new Kylo Ren limited edition lightsaber controller. So those are recorded. They just need to be edited and put out. I've got a stack here of more Star Wars home video stuff to use from the Star Wars Home Video Library. We've got some UK VHS tapes. We got a Greek VHS tape. We got some Muppet Show stuff with Mark Hamill. We got some more VCDs. We got Revenge of the Sith CD with the DVD in it in its original packaging. We got some more Club anti-theft variants, and so on to look at that. And sitting in the other room, assembled today and ready to go for a video, just haven't recorded it yet. We have the Jyn Erso and Rebel Pathfinders Legion expansions that were just released. So more stuff to come in the very near future. And I have just, and boy, am I glad we got a tax refund, because we're paying off some medical bills, and I got enough left, just a little bit, that my wife said, do something for you. So I did something for me. Pretty soon on from the Star Wars Home Video Library, you'll be able to see, along with a possibly a better copy of the Saga DVD pack, although I'll probably just hold off on that for the book, because there's not that much of a difference between the one that I've got that's kind of banged up. But way back when, I showed you guys on that show all of those individual episode DVDs that were released of the Malevolence arc and the Geonosis arc and kind of this weird bounty hunters thing that were in toy packs from Hasbro. And what I had done is I bought all but one of the packs, because there was a duplicate DVD, opened them up, kept the DVD stuff, showed you the packaging, or showed you those, but not the outer packaging, and I had already sold off the toys, or given away the toys. Because at that time, I was a collector of just the home video stuff. I didn't want the toy stuff that it was in, I just wanted the home video, so I just got rid of the other stuff. Well, duh! I never realized I was going to be writing a book on the subject, so now that I want to show that in the book in their original form, I've gone out and repurchased them all, including the one I didn't have before that apparently is ridiculously rare and kind of expensive, which sucked. So pretty soon on From the Star Wars Home Video Library, once it all arrives, I'll be able to show you the original packaging and action figures inside with all of those single episode Clone Wars DVDs we looked at before, and I'll be able to highlight them in the book, so that'll be pretty good too. As far as the book goes, I'm really anxious to get more pictures taken. I've got a few that still need to be edited and put in the book that I took months ago, but hopefully once Greater Good is in good shape to go off to Archbeetle Press, that'll be the next thing that I really start diving into as we go. We want to put a question out there. One thing that I like to do for stress relief is just play some of these Star Wars games that I have sitting around that I've been collecting for years. And I was thinking that with Imperial Assault nearly dead at this point, it seems, I mean, there's only a skirmish map announced at this point. It's the only thing that's been announced in ages since Tyrants of Lothal. I was thinking about actually playing through all of the campaigns of Imperial Assault. I may just take a dual roll and play both sides just to kind of see how it all plays out, as opposed to using the app, though I may use the app, but it doesn't cover all the expansions yet. But I was thinking that might be something where maybe it's interesting if I do that, since I've been covering those games for so long, maybe like a battle report afterwards, like this is how it went, these are the main turning points of that campaign as I was playing it, or something. So if you're interested in that sort of thing, let me know. Maybe something to be interesting to record as I start doing that. I don't know when I'll start, but it's going to be kind of a late night thing, just once everybody's going to bed, so I can just kind of de-stress, kind of like something like this. So, yeah, if you're interested in that sort of thing, let me know. Otherwise, it may be something I just mentioned, maybe as an aside in each episode of Cloud City Casino or something, because at least it'd be appropriate for that. So, with that, again, thank you very much for your support on Patreon. Thank you for your support here by watching on YouTube. You can, of course, subscribe here. There's the little bell thing if you really want to be notified every time a new release comes out. If you want to get a ding on your phone, you can do that. I've done that with a few channels that I follow. So, yeah, thank you very much, and I'll catch you next month on another update with plenty of content between now and then. Thanks again.